So today I wanted to try out a bunch of newer drugstore makeup launches. I've had some of these for a while. I just ordered a couple of them. I think in today's video, I'll be focusing on these products, but I also have this container full of drugstore makeup as well. So I might actually film a part two. And then once I film that video and thoroughly test everything, I'll come back and do a big roundup on the best and worst products. There's a lot to try in today's video, so let's just jump into it. I'm going to start with this product. I did an Ulta haul a few days ago, and I talked about a few of the things that I picked up, and I did kind of quickly test this out. It is the Hydra Kiss Lip Oil from Essence, and this one is in the shade Pink Champagne. Initially, I loved this formula when I tried it on in that video. It just has like that plush feel to it. It's a little bit of a thicker lip oil. It's not super thin or runny. It definitely has like a nice nourishing feel. I think there are 3 different shades on Ulta's website, and this one looked like it had the most tint. And I wouldn't say it's like a super intense tint, so the other ones are probably even a little bit more subtle. But this feels really nice. It definitely has like a really pretty glossy finish. It feels really nourishing, so I'm excited to keep wearing this one. But you know how sometimes you try out a lip product and you instantly know you love it? That's how I feel about this. So for primer, I wanted to try out this product from NYX. It's basically a blurring primer sunscreen all in one. I'm kind of curious to know if it's going to be a good alternative to the Kosas one, the Kosas Dream Beam, which I do really, really love, but that one's pretty expensive. So it would be nice to have like a good drugstore option if you are looking to kind of combine sunscreen, primer all in one. When I swatched this initially, it definitely had a really nice texture. It feels really smooth, and it looks like it's going to give like a little bit of a dewy glow. So I feel like it will actually be the perfect primer. I am also trying out a new foundation today. Normally, I don't try a new foundation and a new primer because if something doesn't apply well, I like to know what it is. But I have a feeling I'm going to love this foundation. And I've watched a couple of reviews, and I haven't heard anyone say that it's the type of foundation that doesn't interact well with different base products. So I thought I would just give it a shot. I had like 3 different foundations that I was going to test out, or I have 3. The new CoverGirl one, which is the one I'm trying today, the new foundation from About Face, which isn't technically drugstore, but it's actually the same price as the CoverGirl one, and then the new Catrice one. It's like a tinted serum. But for today's video, I think I'm going to go with the CoverGirl one just because that has been on my list for a while and I really want to try it out. I've told you in a couple of recent videos that I feel like I can't find, like, no foundations look good on my skin anymore. So I actually haven't been wearing a lot of foundation. I'll usually just go for concealer and blend it out. And for some reason, like, a lot of my go-to concealers just sit better on my skin these days. Hold on, let me just work this into my skin, apply a little bit more to make sure I'm fully covered. This feels really nice. It definitely has like a little bit of a greasy feel to it because it is a sunscreen, but it definitely has almost like a thicker, moisturizing feel as well. So I do think it could make a really good primer. Okay, so for foundation, I'm going to be using this product. It's not technically a foundation. They're calling it the Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence. It's from CoverGirl. This one is in the shade 20 Light. I believe a lot of people are saying it's a dupe for a Chanel product, which I haven't tried that, but I think CoverGirl mentions that you can use it as like a primer, you can use it as a skin tint. Most people I've seen online are using it like as their actual base product, like their foundation. And I have been into slightly lighter coverage these days, so I'm excited to try it out. I've heard that it just feels very light, very nice on the skin. It's interesting because when you pump it out on the back of your hand, it almost looks like it went bad, like it's separated. And then once you start to mix it together, the pigment just kind of mixes with the base and it looks like an actual foundation or skin tint. So I'm going to mix it on the back of my hand before I actually apply it to my face. And, oh, interesting. So it's not picking up on my finger very well. We'll see how this goes. I think I've seen most people say they like to apply it either with their fingers or a brush, not necessarily a sponge, which I'm not really a sponge person anyway. I typically just smooth my foundation on with my fingers first anyways, and then I go in with a brush to kind of tap over it. I hope this shade isn't too light for me. It's kind of hard to choose because in the bottle, it doesn't look how it looks when you pump it out and mix it together, obviously. It is very natural on the skin. I think it might be, to be honest, a little bit too natural for me. I do like a lighter coverage look these days, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's get it on the skin and then I'll decide. I can always go in and spot conceal the areas where I want a little bit more coverage. I will say the texture of the product is very nice. Like it looks really smooth on the skin. Sometimes skin tints or lighter coverage products, I don't know, like everyone seems to have such good experiences with them, but sometimes for me, they can cling to certain areas or they look streaky or patchy. This actually looks really good on the skin, like very smooth, very even. Again, even though I am kind of into like slightly lighter coverage looks these days, I feel like I probably would still want something a little bit more. All right, so let me just finish applying this to my face and then we'll check in. Okay, here's how it looks on my skin. First of all, it is way too light for me, which I'm really kind of surprised about. I got the shade 20 Light, which would probably typically be my shade in any other foundation line or complexion line. The next shade I think is Light Medium, which I would just assume would be way too dark for me. So I will recommend going with a shade that's slightly darker than what you would typically go for. They don't have a ton of shades because it is such a light coverage product. It's obviously going to be a little bit more adaptable, but again, this is very light on my skin. It looks really pretty on the skin, definitely fresh and natural. It basically looks like a tinted moisturizer or a tinted serum. For me, I need a little bit more coverage. Like I just had a breakout here a few weeks ago. You can see like some of my scarring over here. So I'm just going to go in with this Catrice concealer. This is the True Skin Concealer in the shade Cool Cashmere. So I'm going to apply this where I would normally apply concealer, and then I'm also going to use it as a spot concealer as well. I do think I could like this as like a daily go-to product for more natural makeup days because again, you can customize your look easily by adding a little bit of extra coverage where you need it. And it really does look so good on the skin. Now, obviously part of that could be that I used that primer underneath. So I will wear these products separately to see how they wear and apply separately as well. Okay, I think this looks really good on the skin. The concealer definitely made the difference for me, but I would go in with concealer no matter what base product I was wearing. It just kind of perfected the areas where I needed like a little extra coverage. This combo is so nice. Like I think my skin looks really fresh. It looks moisturized and smooth, but it's still on the more natural side. It's not like a heavy full coverage foundation. And also like everything just feels very light, very natural on the skin. So I'm really happy with this combo. I think it looks so good. I hope it holds up throughout the day. I am just going to set the under eyes with a little bit of powder. This is just the Catrice Prime and Fine Mattifying Powder. And I'm just going to take a small amount directly under the eyes. And then I will lightly set the rest of the face in a second. I have been on a cream bronzer kick for a long time at this point. Like it has to be a year, maybe even over a year, but today I'm going to try out a powder bronzer. And sometimes I will use powder bronzer in combination with cream bronzer, but I don't usually skip cream bronzer. And I feel like cream bronzer would actually go really well with this combo too. But NYX launched some new powder bronzers that I think look so nice. So I'm going to give them a shot today. I do have a new brow pen to try out. So I'm just going to go with a staple brow gel, the NYX Thick It Stick It. I'm going to run this through my brows and let it fully dry before I go in with the brow pen. So the brow pen is from LA Girl. It is the Brow Ink Micro Brush Detailer Pen. So on one side you get a brow pen and then on the other side you get a spoolie. At first I thought it was like the Urban Decay Brow Blade where you get a pencil on one side and then a pen on the other, which would be perfect. But the reason why I'm excited to try this is because it is a super tiny, very thin brush. And a lot of brow pens have such a thick brush that I feel like they don't look as natural as I would like them to. Oh, this is going on perfectly. So I thought maybe this would be perfect, especially for the front of my brows where I don't really have any hair. So I like to kind of use a pen to do very soft natural strokes. And when I initially swatched this, it looked maybe a little bit too warm toned, but on the brows, it's the perfect shade. I think this pen is perfect. If you feel like a lot of brow pens are just a little bit too thick or the product comes out too fast, this might be the one to try because I do think it looks really natural in the brows. The only downside is they don't have a ton of shades. The shade I got is, I think yeah, it's dark brown. So if you have a similar brow color to me, this might be a good option, but I think they might only have 2 other shades. NYX does a really good job with their brow lines because they have a ton of different options, but I love the shape of this pen. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the eyes before I do the rest of the face. So I am actually going to use one of the bronzers on the eyes today. So I did grab 2 of the NYX Buttermelt bronzers. So I think for the face, I'm going to use the slightly warmer one. I have 2 different shades. I have All Buttered Up, which is light medium warm, and then Deserve Butter, which is light medium neutral. I think I'm going to use the warmer one on the cheeks today because I love the idea of a rosy toned bronzer. So I think I'll use the neutral one on the eyes as like a transition color. So I did swatch these when I did my Ulta haul. They're very, very smooth. They kind of remind me of the Physicians Formula butter bronzers. Oh my gosh, is that what they're called? I haven't tried those in years, but I used to love them so much. And they have like a similar scent. Like they're definitely beachy, a little bit coconutty, but I mean, this is a, oh shoot, is that the warm one? No, this is the shade Deserve Butter, which is light medium neutral. These are pigmented. I did not mean to go in with that much. I'm just going for a very natural, very soft look today. But I usually take my bronzer and blend it in the crease as eyeshadow. So I thought I would just try these out as eyeshadow too. And they blend out easily, very smooth, but again, really pigmented. So you're probably going to want to go in with a light hand, which is good to know when I actually do my face. For a neutral bronzer, this is pretty warm tone too, but it's not quite as rosy as the other one. I wanted to grab 2 shades because some of them look a little bit rosier than others, and some look more like a traditional bronzer tone. So I feel like if I like the formula, it'd be nice to have both. And then I'm just going to take the lightest shade from this e.l.f. quad, which is my favorite, and I'm just going to soften the edges just a little bit because today's look is a little bit more of a natural look. I think when I do part 2 and try out some of the other products, I'll do a little bit more of a glam look, but I'm just going for pretty natural today. So for the lid, I'm actually just going to take this ColourPop highlighter. This is their Super Shock highlighter in the shade Wisp. And I'm not even going to take a Super Shock shadow because a lot of my Super Shock shadows are like full on glittery, metallic-y. This is more of like a natural, softer satin. I mean, it's still pretty intense, like pretty glowy, but it doesn't have like actual glitter particles in it. So it just gives you a nice smooth sheen, which I think is nice when you want like a brighter lid, but you don't want like an intense metallic or glitter. I'm just taking a tiny touch of that bronzer on the lower lash line just to tie things together a little bit. You know what? I'm going to skip eyeliner today just because I have been doing that most days and I'm just going for a little bit more of a natural look, but I do have a new mascara to try out. It is the Essence Lash Without Limits Extreme Lengthening and Volume Mascara. I'm assuming this is going to be a little bit more lengthening than volumizing because it says wow length on it. And just judging from the wand, it looks like it's going to be like a good lengthening wand. So let's give it a shot and see how it is. I do tend to like Essence mascaras, but sometimes I feel like they can be a little bit hit and miss for me. So let's just apply this. And oh, it is already adding a lot of length, like even just based on this initial few swipes. Wow. Okay, it kind of reminds me of the Lash Princess false lash effect, like the actual effect is giving to the lashes. I almost feel like it's going to be a little bit better. Like it's separating really, really well. This is a very wet formula though, so I almost feel like it might be a little more ideal once it dries out just a little bit. But let me apply this to the eye. Okay, so here's one coat. Really great length and a good amount of volume. It's definitely not like an overly voluminous formula, but sometimes with lengthening mascaras, you don't get any volume, and that's definitely not the case with this one. But let me go in with a second coat, and then I'll check in and show you what it looks like. Okay, I really like this mascara. I think it gave a lot of length and the perfect amount of volume without being too over the top. I don't love the way that it went on my bottom lashes, but I really don't like how a lot of mascaras look on my bottom lashes. I should just skip the bottom lashes, but I can't. I feel like every time I skip them, it looks a little bit off. But I really do like this. We'll see how it wears, if it flakes or smudges throughout the day. Again, it is a very wet formula, so I feel like once it dries out for like a few weeks, it will be absolutely perfect. I don't know why I'm like nervous to apply just a powder bronzer because I usually do start with like a layer of a cream. The reason I switched to cream is because like every powder bronzer was looking, oh, this is so pigmented. Every powder bronzer was looking so patchy on me. So I just like full on quit using powder bronzers by themselves. And I feel like I always, instead of like buffing, I have to like tap just because I don't want it to disturb the makeup underneath, because that is where I deal with some scarring. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's going on nicely. I really like the tone of this one. So again, this is the warm toned one. It definitely could pass as a blush. And I know not everyone loves like a rosy bronzer, but honestly, I've been a fan ever since I tried the Flower Beauty Heat Wave Luminous Bronzer, specifically in the shade Sunrise. That is my go-to. And I'm not like in a big blush phase these days, so I feel like a rosy bronzer is perfect because it's like a blush bronzer all in one. This does look pretty. It definitely has kind of like a matte finish, but it definitely doesn't look patchy or uneven. So I feel like it is changing my mind about powder bronzers, because I swear like every powder bronzer I've tried to use over the past year, if I don't have cream underneath, always looks patchy on me. But I like the way this looks. Again, because I am wearing more of like a natural base, like a very moisturizing product, I do think I probably would typically pair it with a cream bronzer and then maybe set it with this. But I love the color of it. It's definitely rosy, pretty like red, pink toned, but I think it looks really pretty. I love a good all-in-one, like a bronzer blush hybrid or a blush highlighter hybrid, because it just cuts down on the steps. Okay, now my question is, do I want to try the Flower Beauty Liquid Blush? I've had this for a little while, but I've been so nervous to try it because when I swatched it, it felt like it was going to be patchy. So in my mind, I'm like, that is not going to apply nicely. And I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Maybe it will apply really well. I love the liquid contour. I love the liquid highlighters, but I've been so hesitant to try this liquid blush. And you know what? I'm just going to try it because that is the point of today's video. We are trying new makeup. Wait, it's actually going on nicely. It doesn't look patchy. It is very pigmented. And like I told you guys, I haven't really been like a big blush person lately, so I might kind of tone that down. I went in with a very small amount. I'm just applying it to my hand and then using the brush instead of applying it directly to my cheeks, because I feel like that is a good way to cut down on patchiness too. I will say I wish it wasn't quite so matte, but you know what? This blush mixed with the Flower Beauty liquid highlighter would probably be like the perfect combo. I have to tone these down a little bit more. I have a lot of cheek products on, and if you like pigmented cheek products, like these are definitely the formulas to try, but I have definitely been going for more of a subtle look overall. Sometimes when you're filming, it's hard to know exactly how much you're applying, but I just caught like a glimpse of myself in the monitor. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot. Okay, I feel like that is more me personally, but they are very rich, very intense if that's what you like to go for. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of ColourPop Wisp, which is what I used for the lid, and apply that on the cheeks too. And then I'll do the lips. Okay, I feel like my blush looks uneven, but I think it's just the way the lighting is hitting my face. I need to work on my lighting setup and I need to get a new camera because I feel like it doesn't always look completely accurate, and that's obviously my goal with my videos. Okay, let's finish up with the lips. So this is the new Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen from e.l.f. I did order two shades, just Peachy and Toasted. Let me swatch them for you. Based on the photos online, these looked a little bit more pigmented than some of the other brands. So this one is just Peachy, and then this one is Toasted. What should I go with today? Let's go with Toasted, but first I'm going to line my lips. This is the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Baddest Beige. These are like $2 liners. I've been loving them. Super creamy. I think the quality is amazing. I feel like I saw some mixed reviews on this product on TikTok, but I don't know. It swatched really nicely. It's going on really nicely. It definitely has a lot of pigment, which you can tell from the swatches online. It's definitely not like a sheer glossy balm. I would say it's more of like a true glossy lipstick. I obviously haven't tried all of the shades, but those were two of the lightest shades. They had more vibrant shades like reds, berries. So it probably isn't, you know, like in terms of glossy sticks, I would say if you want something a little bit more balmy and natural, this probably isn't the one. but if you do like an actual glossy lipstick, then I think you might like it. I mean, it goes on really nicely. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I think I had some really great hits. I'm excited to keep using this bronzer. I kind of want to pair it with a cream bronzer and see how that goes. But I will say the formula is very, very smooth. There wasn't any skipping or patchiness compared to a lot of other powder bronzers out there. And I love the fact that they have some red toned ones. I do like this CoverGirl product. I'm curious to wear it with a few of my other favorite primers, see how it actually lasts on the skin throughout the day. Also layer like some cream products on top and see how those apply. But if it stays in place fairly well throughout the day, I could see this becoming a go-to product for like nice, easy, natural makeup days. This was also a really nice primer, sunscreen all in one. I'm going to pair it with a few of my other complexion products to see how that works, but so far so good. I love the Essence Lip Oil. Like this has the potential to become one of my all-time favorite lip oils. It just goes on so nicely. It's incredibly nourishing. I love that it has like a hint of color and it feels really luxe. Like if I didn't know this was Essence, I would swear it was like a really expensive high-end lip oil. The Essence mascara is also really nice. We'll see how it wears throughout the day because mascaras always have the potential to flake and smudge. I'll keep you posted with some updates in the description box. I'll pin a comment. I'm pleasantly surprised by this. I do think it's a little bit too pigmented for my personal preferences, but I feel like if I combine this with the Flower Beauty highlighter, that could be the perfect combo. So I am going to try it in that way. And this went on perfectly. I don't have any complaints about it. So overall, a really good experience with these products. That being said, I don't know that this is like my favorite makeup that I've ever done. I feel like the cheek products are a little bit too bold for more of like an easy, everyday, natural look. And even the lip is probably a little bit too bold too. Like this base complexion is what I would pair with like a cream bronzer, a swipe of mascara, and like the Essence lip oil for like a quick natural makeup look. And then the cheek products and the lip product are probably what I would pair with like more of a full coverage foundation. So I feel like I used some full glam products and some more natural products. So in the end, I don't know that I love how everything looks together, but separately, the products I think perform nicely. I feel like sometimes when you're testing a bunch of products, it doesn't always come out in like the most perfect cohesive look. And that's fine too, because that's just like the reality of doing your makeup sometimes. But I had fun trying these products. I did test out a lot of great products that I'm excited to keep using and incorporating into my routine. And stay tuned because like I said, I have all of these drugstore products to test out as well. So I'll probably film another video like this really soon.